Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the 2023 Boxing Awards, as we are going to look at the rematch of the year. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build the channel here. So, and also, guys, I am 900 strong now, officially 900 subscribers. On my way to 1,000. Really appreciate all the support I've gotten up to this point to contribute and help me build my channel. You guys are the best. Seriously, you guys are the best. So the rematch of the year, what does that entail? Well, rematch of the year is a combination of a lot of things rolled together that make this award what it is. So, for instance, the example from last year, the winner was Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano in their rematch for the undisputed super welterweight title at 154. But it's a combination of a lot of things. It's how big the fight is. It's what's on the line for the fight. You know, the result, whether it was a good close battle or a decisive finish for one or the other. You know, and again, you know, how big the fight was overall in the world of boxing. Well, in 2023, we didn't have a ton of rematches. We just didn't. It just wasn't a year for rematches. We actually only have 4 candidates between the 12 divisions that I cover, you know, and those are majority, the top 10 to 15 fighters in each weight class. Only 4 rematches took place. And 3 of them were fights that happened earlier in the year that the 2 guys rematched later in the year. So this really wasn't a big year for rematches. It really wasn't. But it's still an award that I think you know, should be given out because people are interested in rematches and how they go and who comes out on top in a rematch. You know, that is interesting. So that's pretty much what covers rematch of the year. Now, I'm still going to do the same thing that I've done before and go 122 all the way to heavyweight. But, you know, as I said, that's going to be quick because 8 of the divisions had no candidate at all. And then we'll just talk about our 4 instead of top 5. It would have been top 5 if we had 5, but we only had 4 candidates. So 122 didn't have a candidate this year. No rematches there. 126, our first candidate is Mauricio Lara versus Lee Wood in their rematch for the WBA featherweight title. That is a finalist. Then next at 130 super featherweight is Oscar Valdez versus Adam Lopez in a 130-pound battle, a contenders bout. Then 135 all the way to 154. So lightweight, junior welterweight at 140, welterweight at 147, and super welterweight at 154 all did not have a rematch, so there's no candidates in each one of those divisions. 160 middleweight, the candidate there is Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank in their middleweight rematch. 168 and 175 both no, and also 200. So 168 super middleweight, 175 light heavyweight, and 200 cruiserweight. All 3 divisions had no candidate for a rematch this year or in 2023. And finally at heavyweight, the candidate there was Zhilei Zhang versus Joe Joyce for the WBO interim heavyweight title. And yes, I didn't mention that at the beginning. Well, no, that doesn't matter. I'm sorry. So that's the candidate at heavyweight. So now let's break down the 4 candidates, finalists that we had for the rematch of the year. And number 4 for me, easily, is Oscar Valdez versus Adam Lopez in their rematch. That fight took place in September on the Haney versus Lomachenko undercard. And really, this one, I mean, people barely remembered that the first fight even happened years ago. And Lopez, I think, was up in the first fight years ago. And he got stopped in the 7th round, though. in that fight. He might have been up. I can't remember. It was a good close battle the first time out, and then Oscar Valdez stopped him. Some people thought it was a premature stoppage the first time out. But the thing is there wasn't a demand for this rematch. Valdez took this rematch ahead of a potential, because there was a little bit of controversy in the first fight. Valdez took the rematch because he had a showdown with Emmanuel Navarrete coming up in August, and he decided to fight somebody he had already beaten and just wanted to kind of right the wrong a little bit, but really take on a guy that nobody expected to beat him so he could be ready for Emmanuel Navarrete in August. And he pretty much in this one, Oscar Valdez just, Lopez was competitive again, but Oscar Valdez just systematically kind of broke him down. It was his fight. He controlled the action. He pressed him, and he walked away with a clean 10-round unanimous decision in this rematch. So nothing really to speak of. Again, this was one of those fights where a lot of people like myself were like, oh yeah, they fought the first time. It was a very forgettable first fight, so there wasn't really a demand for it. Now, number 3 goes to Mauricio Lara versus Lee Wood in their rematch for the WBA featherweight title. Well, this fight would have made it higher if Mauricio Lara didn't miss weight for this fight. Their first fight took place in February of 2023, where Lee Wood was dominating the action, was outworking and outboxing Mauricio Lara, but Lara kept getting closer and landing shots, and then the 7th round landed flush, a clean left hand that dropped Lee Wood hard. Wood got up. It was towards the end of the round, but he was badly hurt, and his corner, Ben Davidson, decided to throw in the towel because he didn't want to see Wood suffer any more damage. Wood had an automatic rematch clause in the contract, and he would activate that for May. And a lot of people were excited to see the rematch because Lee Wood was winning. And then Mauricio Lara, the day before the fight, came in well overweight, was stripped of the title on the scales. And when the rematch happened the following day, the vacant title was on the line for Lee Wood only. And Lee Wood would completely outbox Mauricio Lara the entire fight in this one and take a unanimous decision. But the fact that Lara lost his title on the scales, to me, meant he really wasn't focused or didn't care about this fight enough. And I think that took away from the fight itself. But no, big ups to Lee Wood for avenging the loss and regaining the world title just a few months later after a tough knockout loss. But that definitely hurt this fight right here, the Lara missing weight. Number 2, the runner-up for rematch of the year goes to Liam Smith versus Chris Eubank 2 when they met in their middleweight rematch back in September of 2023. Their first fight was in January of 2023, where Chris Eubank came in the favorite, and Liam Smith was able to stalk him and stop him in the 4th round impressively with a TKO to be, in what was a not a major upset. It was more of a mild to mid-level upset, but it was an impressive win, especially considering that Eubank has never been even hurt, let alone knocked out, and has always possessed a great chin. For him to score that victory like that, that upset was big. But in the rematch, Chris Eubank came in with Bomac, Terrence Crawford's trainer. He really switched things up and came in focused, boxed well, and hustled Liam Smith, put him down a couple times, and scored a 10th round TKO victory as he gained his revenge and left no doubt as he, for this fight, to determine who was more of a top dog at middleweight, which is a wide open division. So it was a big win for him. That one was close to the top spot, but it just missed out for me. But it was a very good, it was a good candidate right here. But it ranked number 2. Number 1, the rematch of the year, the 2023 rematch of the year for me, goes to Zhilei Zhang versus Joe Joyce 2 in their rematch for the WBO Interim Heavyweight Championship that took place in September as well. Their first fight had taken place in April. Joe Joyce, the juggernaut, was rolling. He was undefeated. He was the WBO Interim Champion. He had pretty much controlled the action and became the first man to stop Joseph Parker in his previous fight in October of 2022. And Zhilei Zhang was really looked at as a stay busy type opponent ahead of Joe Joyce getting his eventual title shot. As at the time, there was a lot of people that were still believing that Fury and Usyk were going to fight for the undisputed title. So Joe Joyce went in there like that. Zhilei Zhang was coming off of, a good performance against Filip Hrgović, where he lost a very close decision, somewhat controversial, but people still weren't sure how good Zhilei Zhang was. And in this one, they would find out. Zhilei Zhang, early in the contest, started landing that straight left hand down the pipe, as he is a southpaw, and he swelled up and busted up Joe Joyce's eye very early, and just continued to batter him and batter that eye until the fight was stopped after the 6th round, and Zhilei Zhang scored a major upset to become the WBO Interim Heavyweight Champion. But there was a lot of people that felt like if that eye didn't get injured early, that Joe Joyce might have been okay in this fight. Joyce had a rematch clause in the contract, and he decided to activate it once Zhilei Zhang started talking to Tyson Fury about fighting him for the WBC title. Joe Joyce didn't want to ruin his opportunity at an eventual world title shot, so he activated the rematch clause. Some people thought it was smart. I'm one of those, and some people thought it was a mistake. And I kind of am one of those as well, if that makes sense. The reason I say both is because given where Joe Joyce was already, if he comes back, or if he lays low after a knockout loss like that and doesn't activate the rematch, then he has to work that much harder to get back. But if he can somehow figure out how to win the rematch against Zhilei Zhang, then he's right back where he was. And people might be more interested in seeing him fight since he suffered a loss now. So I understand why he had to do it, but I also understand the mistake side of it, because it was a risk. And in the rematch here, you saw why it was a risk. Zhilei Zhang left no doubt. There wasn't an eye to use as a, which Joe Joyce, I'm not saying used as an excuse. I'm saying some boxing writers, some people thought that upset occurred because his eye was injured so early on in the first fight. This fight, it was clear cut, and Zhilei Zhang destroyed the man that just 9 months earlier, and forget that, 6 months earlier, heading into the April fight, was considered to be the boogeyman in the heavyweight division of Joe Joyce. Zhilei Zhang destroyed him with a 3rd round knockout in the rematch to leave no doubt and retain the WBO Interim Heavyweight title. And then when Joseph Parker came out and defeated Deontay Wilder in December in that upset, you saw it only gave more credit to Joe Joyce because he dominated Parker and was the only guy to stop Joseph Parker in his career. That just gave more credit to Joe Joyce, which you have to give more credit to Zhilei Zhang. So this, to me, because of how big of a fight it was, because of the ramifications, because Joe Joyce was just rolling through fighters and was the top dog in the heavyweight division in terms of the guys nobody wanted to fight heading into the year, I had to give the rematch of the year to Zhilei Zhang and Joe Joyce, because you didn't know who was going to win that one. Was Joe Joyce going to get his revenge? Was Zhilei Zhang going to leave no doubt? The fact that Zhang destroyed Joe Joyce in the first fight and then was even more clear-cut in the second fight, and the fact that this was such a big fight speaks to the credit and the credibility of this rematch. So for me, the 2023 rematch of the year absolutely belongs to Zhilei Zhang versus Joe Joyce 2 in their rematch for the WBO Interim Heavyweight title. So that's it. That's what I got. That's my 2023 boxing awards, and this was my 2023 rematch of the year. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.